You can level up your video conferencing and live streaming by using a real camera like the Canon M50. In fact, that's what I've been doing for the past year, ever since Canon released the EOS Webcam Utility. This is my long-term review of the Canon M50 as a webcam. And this is what the result looks like. I recorded this whole intro in OBS Studio with the EOS Webcam Utility and the Canon M50. This is a video sample of the Canon M50 as a webcam using Zoom video conferencing. All you need to get started is the Canon M50, a USB cable, and the free EOS Webcam Utility software. I have links to both of them in the description below the video. There are two versions of the Canon M50, Mark I and Mark II. I have Mark I and it currently retails for about $500. The Mark II retails for about $650. If you want to connect it as a webcam with a USB cable, there are no relevant differences between Mark I and Mark II. For the purposes of using it like this, the Mark II is just a firmware upgrade. However, there is a second way that you can use the Canon M50 as a webcam, and that is to use the HDMI port on the camera. And if you choose this route, then you should get the Canon M50 Mark II because that has a clean HDMI signal. If you use the HDMI option, there is a limit. You can only use the camera for 30 minutes at a time. If you use the USB connection, like we're talking about in the rest of the video, then there is no 30-minute recording limit. You can use the camera for as long as your battery lasts, or you can get an AC adapter kit. We'll talk more about that later on in the video as well. Here's the setup that I use for video conferencing and for live streaming. I have the Canon M50 with the kit lens. This is the 15 to 45mm lens that came in the box. For light, I use a LED panel here on my right-hand side, but my main light source is actually my window here on this side. The Canon M50 is mounted on a tripod that's standing on the desk right here behind my monitor. The final piece of this puzzle is the USB cable from the camera to my computer. We'll talk more about this specific cable at the end of the video. There are links to all of the products that I'm talking about in the description below the video. The video signal that you get from the Canon M50 with the EOS Webcam Utility is 1024 by 576 pixels. And it's video only, there's no audio over the USB connection. The native video resolution of the Canon M50 is 1920 by 1080. So the EOS Webcam Utility resolution is significantly lower. But for video conferencing and for most live streaming, you really don't need 1080p, I think. Also for video recording, sometimes 1080p is not necessary. For example, if I want to record a quick promo for an event where I'm speaking or something for social media, I just do it in OBS Studio at the lower resolution. A cool feature that Canon added in the most recent version of the EOS Webcam Utility is that you can record internally on the camera at the same time as you're using it as a webcam, and the internal recording is full HD at 1080p. And that's actually how I'm recording this video right now. I'm recording it internally on the camera, plus I'm using OBS Studio to record the webcam output as well as the audio from my microphone that I have here on my desk. This means that we can easily compare the two video sources. This is what it looks like with the internal recording, and this is what it looks like when I'm using the EOS webcam output in OBS Studio. And here they are side by side. One benefit of being able to record internally on the camera is that you can easily create a backup recording. Let's say that you're doing a Zoom meeting that you want recorded. Well, here you can make your own recording on the camera at the same time as the meeting is happening. Another benefit of this approach is that you will get the full 1080p video recording on your camera, which you don't always get out of the Zoom recordings. Because you're connected with a USB cable, you can easily transfer your photos and your videos with the EOS Utility. In the beta version of the EOS Webcam Utility, there was a conflict between that and the EOS Utility, but in the current version of the EOS Webcam Utility, this has been fixed and the file transfers work nicely. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of using the Canon M50 as a webcam. The most obvious pro is the image quality. This looks so much better than the built-in camera in a laptop or even a separate webcam. This is a sample recorded with the built-in camera in my Lenovo ThinkPad X250. For this recording, I'm using OBS Studio on the laptop. Pro number 2 is the range of the kit lens. Let me demonstrate it to you. First, I'm going to zoom all the way out. This is now zoomed all the way out to 15 millimeters. Now let's zoom all the way in, and I'm going to adjust the framing accordingly. And this shot is now zoomed all the way in. I'm standing in the same position. I did have to increase the ISO on the camera because we are now at f6.3, whereas previously we were at f3.5. The setup is also surprisingly portable, and I say surprising because I never expected to use the webcam utility anywhere else than here at my desk. But I've actually brought this setup with me to the hybrid meetings that I organize. So these are meetings where you have people in a room together and others are joining online. And the Canon M50 has really helped me level up those hybrid meetings. I've made a number of videos about hybrid meetings on my channel. If you want to check out the full playlist, click the link up here. A further pro of this setup is the flexibility. Because you have to mount your camera on a tripod, that actually makes the setup a lot better for configuration. For example, you should always have your camera at about eye level when you're doing video conferencing, and having it on a tripod makes it very easy to do so, much easier than using a built-in laptop camera, for example. If you're getting value from the video, hit the like button. Now let's look at the cons of using the Canon M50 as a webcam. And number 1 is the audio, or rather the lack of audio. You're not getting any audio from the camera over the USB connection, so you will have to supply a separate microphone for your video conferencing and for your live streaming. Number 2 is the usability of the EOS Webcam Utility software. Every now and again, you will only get a black screen or the camera doesn't work for some reason. And usually it's because it's being accessed by another program. I wish that there was some kind of dashboard in EOS Webcam Utility which would tell you what's actually happening. I made a whole video about troubleshooting the EOS Webcam Utility and the Canon M50. If you want to check out that video, click the link here above me. Con number 3 is the battery life. I can usually get about 2 or 2.5 hours out of the battery when I'm live streaming or video conferencing. For most purposes, this is perfectly fine, but for my Toastmasters meetings, especially those hybrid meetings, sometimes we are approaching the edge of what the battery can handle. Luckily, there is a simple solution, and that is to get an AC adapter kit and a dummy battery for the Canon M50. Check out the links below for a couple of really good choices for adapter kits. None of these cons are deal breakers, and I think the Canon M50 is an amazing webcam. I would very happily recommend it. But is it worth the price? Well, if you already own a Canon M50, then all you need is a $10 USB cable and you'll be able to level up your video conferencing and live streaming significantly. But would it be worth buying a Canon M50 just for using it as a webcam? Well, perhaps not. But let me tell you my story with this camera. In April of 2020, I was already considering the Canon M50 because I wanted to upgrade my YouTube video setup, and I also wanted to take better photos at the stand-up comedy shows that I produce. And then I saw in late April 2020 that Canon released the EOS Webcam Utility, which allows me to use the Canon M50 as a webcam. And for me, that was the deciding factor. That's why I got this camera. In just a moment, I'm going to share a bonus tip about the best cable you can get for your Canon M50. If you've been getting value from the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I post a new video here every Thursday, and they're always about helping you engage better with your audience. And here's that bonus tip. The best cable you can get for the Canon M50 has a reversible USB micro B connector. And reversible means that you don't have to worry about which side is up and which side is down. This has changed my life just because it makes it so much easier for me to connect to my camera. I actually made a whole video right here about the reversible USB cable where I'm comparing it to the other cables that I've tried. This is how excited I am about the reversible USB cable. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.